So you want to start homeschooling your children now. I am Leilani. I am a former public and private school teacher. I am a homeschool mom. I am a homeschool consultant and evaluator. And my youngest daughter does have Down syndrome. For 13 plus years, I have been helping families like yourself, whether they're at the beginning of the journey, middle of the journey, end of their journey, to help you be the most successful parent you can possibly be for your children. So in this video, I'm really going to break down those beginning stages of homeschooling, whether you're in the middle of the year, beginning of the year, or end of the year, so that whenever you decide to homeschool, you've got some resources. So let's go ahead and start from the beginning to give you guys some clear parameters for yourself. Number one, you need to have a purpose. You need to have some goals and some techniques that you are going to be using to achieve those goals. And some of them will change, some of them won't. So we're going to start off with that idea of having a purpose, a reason. Why are you deciding to homeschool? And this is going to vary across the board for a lot of different families. Some are doing it for religious reasons, faith-based reasons. Some are doing it for political reasons. They may feel that the school is too conservative or too liberal. But some parents are deciding to homeschool because their child is being bullied. The administration is not supporting them enough. Their child has a disability and they feel like their kids are being overlooked or not served. There's lots of many reasons that you decide to homeschool because you decide that you can provide a better education for them. So you need to know why specifically you are pulling your child out from public school or why you are deciding specifically you want to homeschool. And that's your reason. That's your purpose. Because whatever that purpose is, you are going to do a better job. So to give you some examples, faith-based reasons, for example, they're in the public school system, they're not allowed to talk about a specific type of religion. So your reason is because at home, you're going to provide a faith-based education for your child. If your child is in public school and they are being overlooked, they are not getting the therapies that they deserve, when you homeschool, you are going to provide that opportunity for your child. Same with bullying, etc. Get the idea? And based off of the purpose for you pulling them out, you are going to create some goals for your child. And so there's going to be a variety of different goals. Now, before I move on to the goals, I do want to point out that your purpose, your reason for pulling them out is probably not going to change throughout all of their years. Now, it may alter here and there. So maybe you decided that you wanted to homeschool them because of their learning disability. Well, as you progress, you may decide that you want to be more faith-based. Or you may decide that you want to provide more social support for them outside of the public school. So it may adjust here and there, but for the most part, it doesn't usually change. Now, when you get to the goals, every year, I would say you want to set some new goals, maybe twice a year, just because you want to hone in and make sure those goals are really what you want for your kids. For example, you may have taking your kid out of public school because they are hyperactive. They have ADHD. They keep getting in trouble. They keep getting suspended. They can't sit still in class. They have been stereotyped as the bad kid by the teachers and by the students. So you want to pull them out because you want to give them a better education. And one of the things is you want them to focus. You want them to learn how to focus on their schoolwork more so that they can get it done. You want to do that by, there's different techniques now. So you have that goal, you want them to focus. You know, you can think of other ones like do well in mathematics, do well, you mean more specific to the subject matter, but let's go back to that focus one, okay? There are different techniques that you can use to help them maintain that focus or increase their focus. You could actually be a little bit more specific. Instead of just saying you want them to focus, you can say, I want them to focus for 20 minutes at a time. That can be your specific goal. And see, now that goal can actually shift through the years. So it could be 20 minutes to 30 minutes to 40 minutes. And there is a way that you can extend those time frames of focus by using a timer. I can talk about that in another video when I get more into ADHD. I have a ADHD playlist, so check that out if you're interested. But let's say your goal is to have them focused for 20 minutes, okay? There's different techniques that you can use. You can use the timer. Another one is to create more breaks, more physical activity type breaks. Let's say one of the things that you're gonna do is buy a trampoline, right, for physical activity. So your technique to help them with focus is to have them bounce on the trampoline after they work for 20 minutes. Techniques are going to be shifting as you go through the year, and they're going to be shifting a lot. They can be shifting weekly, they could be shifting monthly. You might shift in the beginning like a couple times per week or a couple times per month, and then find one that really works and it's going to extend for a long period of time. But then you might have to shift it again because our kids are growing up, they're always changing. So be able to adjust some of those techniques. But as a parent, when you're homeschooling, first of all, it's really overwhelming. You're going to be searching what are different techniques to help my child focus that has ADHD. And you're going to start researching those. You're going to start trying different ones. You're going to start finding the ones that work with your kids. So let's say you did buy that trampoline, right? To give them that physical break, every 20 minutes of working hard, they get a 5-minute jump on the trampoline break, okay? So let's say you do that and it's going well for the first couple weeks, but then you start to notice that during their break time, they're gravitating towards the piano and they find that they want to sit down instead of bouncing on the trampoline. They want to sit down and play piano. Believe it or not, a lot of kids that do have ADHD will find that playing a musical instrument will help to refocus them. So let's say they are sitting down at the piano, but you got this beautiful trampoline. Trampolines are great. You could use them always. But let's say you want to shift the technique of helping them with focusing. Instead of that, you could do the piano, or you could alternate both. Maybe giving them options to do either one. So that's just an example. There are lots of different ways that you can do this. It's just a sliver of an example. But that's why you have to know your kid. Because as you are starting to homeschool your kid and be close to your kid and get to know them better, you're going to find out what they like, what works for them, and what doesn't work for them. And you're going to be building your library of things that work for them as you go along. And sometimes it's really good to keep a journal or notebook that you can just jot things, bullet point things down that work and that don't work in the journal so you don't forget. So once again, as a review, you have your reason for pulling them out, then you have a list of goals that you have for them, and then you have the different techniques that you are going to be trying out. The techniques can change weekly, monthly, bi-monthly. The goals can change once they accomplish them. You can adjust the goals. You can change the goals completely. So let's say, for example, you want to really hone in this year on science and not as much social studies. Well, then fine. And then the following year you could hone in on the social studies and not so much the science. You can kind of do that too. You can kind of play with that a little bit. Let's say they were really weak in mathematics. So one of your goals is to increase their mathematics. And of course you could try different techniques. You start off with one specific curriculum that works with math at their level, but you find out it's too hard for them and you have to lower the level. That's a change in technique. And then maybe you find out that they work best when they're working with manipulatives. That's a change in technique. So you can kind of see how these things adjust to meet your child's needs as you get to know your child. Just spend a lot of time getting to know them and the things that they like to do and don't like to do on a one-on-one basis if possible. If not, in a family kind of setting basis. Either way, just get to know them, rest and relax, and slowly add in though as academics. And of course, going back to these reasons, goals, and techniques, those are the things you're going to start building and thinking about during that quote-unquote deschooling period. So let's say you go through the deschooling, you go through, writing your goals and techniques. You're probably asking me now, what about curriculum? Because whenever I sit down to do these evaluations, that literally is like the first question you guys ask me is, what curriculum should I use for my kids? Now, obviously, if you have a child on the spectrum or if there is a unique ability, using a curriculum is a little bit more complicated than me just going, here, use this. Right? Because you have to meet the needs of the child. And sometimes you have to work with the therapist and sometimes you have to move very, very slow. I have a whole playlist on disabilities and special needs. And of course, every single unique ability is so different. It's not a one size fits all. There is stuff out there that is great for you and some that won't be good for you. There are some companies that claim that they are there for special needs when in reality they're not. They're just kind of throwing that word out because they're flexible. That's a whole nother topic that I should also make a video about, and I plan on doing that. But if your child does not have a unique ability and you just need a curriculum to get them started. And I say that tongue in cheek, get them started, because as a homeschool parent, you have the right to change in the middle of the year if it's not working. You have the authority to adjust it. You can do whatever you want. So I'm going to list some that I think are really good starters. My suggestion for first year, to get you going so you don't have to worry too much about curriculum. You can focus more on developing that relationship with your child. Get an all-in-one curriculum, meaning that, hey, I'm going to go with Becca. They have all the subjects, and I know I'm taken care of. Now, I mentioned Becca. I'm just going to point out Becca is very popular. It is very rigorous. I just want to throw that out there. It's very, very rigorous. I have heard of first graders and second graders using Abeka, and they're spending like 6 hours doing work, okay? Just understand Abeka is rigorous. If that's what you want, go for it. Another one that is rigorous, not as rigorous as Abeka, but still very, very rigorous, is also BJU. But both of those are curriculums, full-blown curriculums that you can get. Now, to the ones that I actually recommend, the first one I suggest is through Timber Doodle. Now what they do is they have put together a bunch of different materials across different places. So you have novel studies, you have Write Shop, you have math, UC, and you have an option of 2 different types of kits. You have the classic, which is going to be faith-based, and then you're going to have one that is non-religious. Of course, you can get, the basics, then you can get the elite or complete, depending on how much you want to spend. And you can actually spend a lot on this curriculum. Trust me, on all curriculum. And it kind of stinks if you buy it and then, it's not working for you. So that is a gamble. You have to make that decision. Do you want to just jump in and buy all of it and commit to the full year and the price? Totally up to you. But the basic one is basic, obviously, and is going to be the cheapest option when it comes to Timber Doodle. Remember, all of these are book-based. So this is nothing that's online for Timber Doodle. And same with Abeka and BJU, but I do believe they have some video-based lessons that you can tap into. But like I said, Timber Doodle across the board. Well, actually, no, because if you're using Math UC, there's going to be some video-based as well. But it's not a full online curriculum is what I'm saying. There is a workbook. That's the foundation right there. It's in the workbook. They're writing things out, they're circling, that kind of stuff is happening with the Timber Doodle curriculum, and the reading books. Okay, another one that I do recommend, I'm going to put these 2 together because there are a lot of similarities but a lot of differences between these 2, and that is Generations and Master Books. Both of them are very faith-based. Master Books works alongside Answers. Actually, Answers in Genesis uses Master Books as their publisher. Generations I believe it's based in Colorado. It's a very good one. Both of them are faith-based, like I said, and a lot of reading. That's another thing too, is they're very much like, I would say, a reading-based curriculum, essays with questions and answers. Generations is, I would say, going to be more rigorous than Master Books, with Master Books having more of a gentle approach. Both are really good. It really does come down to what are you looking for, what's gonna work with your child best, or like their style. Look at the literature that you're going to be reading. Look at, for both ends, and look at the science topics that they're going to be doing. So go into those, look at those. All these links, by the way, are down in the description box below. So if you want to look more in detail with these, you can. Online curriculum. There are so many different curriculums out there that are 100% online. Okay, Easy Peasy is free. It has more of a Charlotte Mason kind of approach to it. It's 100% free. I have a video where I actually compare Easy Peasy with The Good and the Beautiful, which I'm gonna I'll say it now. The Good and the Beautiful is also one of my top suggestions. But back to the online, the 2 that seem to be the most popular with first year homeschoolers is Time for Learning and Mia Academy. I will say, in my opinion, I feel like Time for Learning is a little more gentle. They do say they're special needs friendly, but I think that's because they're more self-paced, and I think it's because a more gentle approach. There's nothing that Time for Learning offers that's specific to a learning difference or specific to a unique ability. So it's just the flexibility behind Time for Learning. Time for Learning is not going to be faith-based, but I believe Mia Academy does have that. They have like Bible studies in there that you can do for curriculum, some faith-based stuff in there as well. But I did mention The Good and the Beautiful as another option. Like I said, it's free. Some of it is free. The younger years are free. I will say full curriculum. It dots all your I's, crosses all your T's, but it is very teacher intensive, especially when it comes to learning how to read. So those are my recommendations for curriculum, first year beginning curriculum. Of course, you may find that as you are going through, let's say for example, Generation, you're doing Generations, but you just don't like the way they do science, but you love the way that they do history. You might say, I'm going to keep their history, but I need to find another science. So the following year, you can buy another history through Generations, but look for another science, and you can start doing research on that. Maybe you feel like they need more experiments or more hands-on science experiments. You can Google that. You can search it on YouTube, see reviews, all the things. So for that first year, unless you really, 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 really have to, I wouldn't worry about switching curriculum too much unless, like I said, if you have to. The I have to is when your kid is really not responding to the curriculum. And you'll know when you see the tears start falling and the anger and all the things. Now, I'm not saying you're not going to see that, because you're going to see some tears sometimes. Sometimes you won't. Sometimes it's going to be like all sunshine and rainbows. Not all the time. I'm not going to lie to you. It is not easy. It teaches you patience. Now for the social aspect, because, back in the day, 20 years ago, people said, what about the socialization for homeschoolers? Well, nowadays with homeschooling, we've got so many opportunities to get our kids out of the house. I mean, of course, you have the neighborhood. If you have a neighborhood that, kids are playing outside, they can jump right in. But there are also co-ops. There's home education programs. Now, co-ops are going to be more parent-led, where all the parents are getting together and they're sharing education with each other. So let's say I get together with like 5 other parents and we meet in a home, and I'm like, hey, I'll take the science, you take the math, or I'll take Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you take Tuesdays, Thursday, where you're working together. You might meet at a church, wherever it's easiest to meet, and you homeschool together. Then there's extracurricular activities, of course. That's going to be like your dance, your hobbies, gymnastics, that kind of stuff. Oh, I did mention home educational instructional programs. Those are going to be more of the paid, where you take them to a place and you say, hey, I'm going to enroll them in this class, this class, this class, and this class, and you pay them. It's got an a la carte kind of feel to it. Similar to like maybe college, where they're taking, one science class once a week. There's lots of, I almost feel like all of these are very similar, but also very different. So it's really important that you go down there and check it out. There's also sports, there's also STEM programs, there's music lessons, there's choirs, there's musical theater, performances, plays, etc. This is all, play dates for the younger kids. This is always to get socializations. But where do you find these? And I get that question a lot. Finding them, I always say that if you are part of a church congregation, go there first. Ask around with other parents, see if they're homeschooling, and just jump on board with what they're doing. Try it out, see if it's a good fit. If you cannot do that, or if you choose not to do that, you want to go to Facebook groups, because a lot of these different co-ops and programs like to advertise on the local Facebook group, and usually the local Facebook homeschool group is more than welcome to take it. That's where you just scroll through and see all the advertisements, see if there's something, attend them, ask questions, that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much how you find them all. So like I said before, if you still need someone to sit down with, a consultant, a homeschool consultant, my information is down below in the description box, where you could reach out to me, book an appointment with me. Also, if you are in the state of Florida and you need a homeschool evaluation, I do that. If you need a choice navigator in Florida, I do that. I am a choice navigator. So go ahead and check those links out. And if you have any questions, leave them in the description or in the comment section as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. Here's some videos, some other videos that might interest you within the same kind of subject as what we just talked about today. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.